Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Subscribe below to be a part of a community that is dedicated to the all-time classics of music. Subscribe right now, you won't want to miss out. This is a great community, you'll have a lot of fun. For daily videos, click the bell so you never miss out. And for more videos and more benefits, click on our Patreon link. Now, I'm excited to bring you another episode. Yet another episode from our series, Revelations, where featured artists go very deep into their greatest songs. On this installment of Revelations, we begin a series that's going to honor Eagles co-frontman, the late Glenn Frey, through his co-writing partner and good friend, Jack Tempchin. He, of course, wrote several Eagles classics, including Peaceful, Easy Feelin'. Peaceful, easy feeling. And Already Gone. Two of the best Eagles songs ever. Eagles formed in early '71 when Linda Ronstadt and her manager at the time, John Boylan, recruited Glenn and Don Henley for her band. And while on that tour, they decided to form a band. Legendary standards like Take It Easy, Lion Eyes, Desperado, Hotel California, Heartache Tonight, those would all follow. But by the beginning of the 1980s, the band had begun to splinter and they eventually broke up. Naturally, the two principals of the group launched their solo careers. Don Henley released I Can't Stand Still with the top 5 hit Dirty Laundry. And Motor City's Glenn Frey dropped the album No Fun Allowed a bit earlier that same year. This would be the first of 5 solo records by Glenn. And you know, I've always felt that Glenn Frey is just sorely underappreciated. You know, Don Henley was always the critic's darling, as well as he should be, one of the greatest singer-songwriters ever, but Glenn Frey is as well. You know, he could play just about every instrument, and he had a very distinct voice, one of the most recognizable baritones of the rock era. Over the next few months, like I say, we will honor Glenn Frey. He should have been honored more when he passed. We'll honor him first through his major solo breakthrough song, The One You Love, written with Jack Tempchin. This song peaked at number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100. Also went to number 2 on the AC charts and number 12 in Canada. You know you gotta make up your mind. I just love how Glenn interprets this song vocally. I love the inspiration behind it, in which we'll hear from the night that Glenn and Jack wrote this hidden gem from the 80s. We'll get insight from Jack on what made Glenn such a special artist and songwriter. Before we do begin, I want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses I wear exclusively. If you want to put some style into your life, go design your own pair at the link below. Just put in your prescription and you're well on your way. Here is Jack Tempchin on Glenn Frey.
Well, first of all, I loved the Eagles and being a small, tiny part of them by writing a few songs that they did, and a huge fan. And I was never, I wasn't involved in the breakup, or I wasn't around. I was doing my own thing, and so it's not that I liked it when they broke up at all. And through the whole 14 years, I was kind of always encouraging Glenn to maybe, put them back together. They worked really hard on some of those albums and kind of blew themselves out. But he called me and said, Jack, I want to write some songs. You want to come over? So I came over, and he was living in the Hollywood Hills in this A-frame place he was renting, one big room, and it had belonged to James Cagney. And I walked in, I could feel the vibe of some Hollywood parties. And Glenn had about 100 candles burning in the place. And then he had 2 bottles of red wine. Each one costing more than my car, and I go, Glenn, what, I said, I don't drink wine. He goes, this is songwriter wine, man. You got to have some of this. So I go, okay. And I go, what's with all the candles? Do you have a date later, And he goes, no, man, it's the muse, Jack, she's up there. And, we're not the only guys trying to write a song tonight. And we want to set the scene so she comes down and hangs out with us. And, so
that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm going, oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't even know about that. What have I been doing all this time? We always had so much fun together, Glenn and I. And even a few years before he died, I sat there thinking about all the times I'd known him for 40 some years, and just like, I thought, man, we never had any friction. We always had just a tremendous time. So that first night, we wrote a couple things. We wrote, I Found Somebody. He played a Johnny Horton record or something, and we kind of got a groove. And then I think we wrote The One You Love. Need a friend, someone you can talk to. So we wrote a couple of hits that first night.
Well, The One You Love, that's my favorite song by Glenn. It's just such a great, it's one of those songs that has truly stood the test of time. I love the saxophone.
Yeah.
And that went to number 15 on the Hot 100, number 2 on the AC charts. But that tenor sax, Ernie Watts, and then later on, it's obviously Jim Horn. Tell me about that song, what you remember about that, because just a scorcher.
I was looking at a book called Baker's Jazz Guitar, a jazz guitar book. And it opens up, the first page of the book is about 20 chords that you're going to learn to do the jazz guitar. So like, I've been doing it for weeks, and I hadn't even gotten through all 20 chords. They're really like, and so I had written something. I'd written a song just so I could try to learn the chords, and I'm trying to learn these chords. Later, I talked to my friend Greg Leese, the guitar player in the Funky Kings, and he said, "Yeah, I looked at that book too, and I never got through that first page either." And Greg Leese, one of best guitar players in the world. He played with Eric Clapton's band. He's now playing with Jackson Browne. He's played on everybody's records. And so I'm going, okay. So I came over to Glenn's and I showed him these chords. And being Glenn, he just went, oh, okay, boop, boop, boop. And he had them instantly. And then he's like grooving on these chords. Maybe the muse is going to come down, and there's two of us guys. And what if she had to choose between two really cool guys, And that's what the song's about. This girl having to choose. We were trying to make up something, and I said, are you going to stay with the one you love, with the one who loves you, or are you going back to the one you love? Are you going back to the one you love? And he goes, Jack, that's wow. He loved that. And so we built the song around that. And then, of course, I think we produced it. We might have used the Lynn 9000. Some of the stuff we did was just Glenn in my little house in Hollywood bopping out the drum part, because the Lynn 9000 was the first drum machine that you could sequence other instruments in there, like a drum and a bass, and Glenn would just do it all because he heard it all in his head. He heard the hit record completely in his head and already knew, and then he would hum the saxophone part to the sax player. And I would just kind of be watching it all come together. And a lot of times I think we might have used the drum machine, we just used what he put down, and he would play a couple chords on the piano, and it was just amazing.
Where did that saxophone line come from? Do you remember? Is it something that he started kind of humming in his head? Because I know he played all the instruments really on that song except for the saxophones.
Yes. And so I think we sequenced them in the bedroom of my little house. But I know when the sax player came over, basically Glenn hummed the part to him. He already had the part in his head. Glenn had the part in his head. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why they called him the Lone Arranger. In the Eagles, they called him the Lone Arranger, because he could just, he heard it all in his head, and it was just there. And so then the Eagles were not together for a period of 14 years. And those were amazing years for me. It's like I loved Glenn, and we got together and we were great friends for all this time, long before the Eagles. And to just have this guy that you like, and I didn't know how great Glenn was at first. I heard him with J.D. Souther and we jam and stuff, but I just thought he was a folky guy like me because we were just playing guitar and making stuff up, you know. But I didn't realize that he'd been in bands all his life. I didn't even know he played bass, and I didn't know that he knew all about singing harmony, and I didn't know, I just didn't see the scope of who he was. And plus there was a lot of other things. He was a team captain. He could pick the best players and put them together. He put the Eagles together with much thought, and he could motivate and plan, and you know, he had all these so to just have your buddy turn out to be one of the best writers that ever was, and you just get to like work with them, pretty much a dream come true. And we wrote together for 14 years.
Yeah, I want to ask you about some of those songs for sure, because they're classics. It's so cool that I never heard that before, that you, so when the muse comes down, what if she had to choose? Because that's what's great about this song, is that it really is about the one you love. It's the, she still loves her ex-boyfriend, developing a close relationship, but then the ex calls. I love that like second verse when it says, I heard you on the phone. I heard you on the phone. You took his number, said you weren't alone, but you call him soon. Isn't he the guy who left you crying? Isn't he the one who made you blue? Isn't he the one who made you blue? And then the chorus is, of course, the line that you had come up with that he loved. Going back to the one you love. That's what's great about the song, is you can feel that yin and yang, and that angst, the feeling that the person is having of this other woman having to choose and everything.
And you get the feeling maybe this ex-boyfriend is not so great, really.
Yeah.
You know, but she's like still, women often don't fall for the right guy. And then Glenn had an unbelievable way of expressing the woman's point of view, like in Lying Eyes. He could somehow just get there and say it like better than anybody, you know. So
the thing about that is so disappointing, that was just heartbreaking to me, is that when Glenn passed on, it was right at that moment that like Prince had passed away and David Bowie before that, and it got lost. And I thought, this is one of the greatest songwriters and singers ever. I mean, the biggest band of all time in America. Certainly, just looking at the numbers, and I just feel like same kind of thing happened when Dan Fogelberg died. I just really disappointed. They should have made a bigger deal about his legacy, because to me, again, it's flashy. I get it. I love Prince. I love David Bowie. They were the stylists, right? Mm-hmm. But Glenn Frey wrote so many standards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that was one thing that really disappointed me. I felt like that he should have been honored more.
Well, from the years that I worked with him, I'm finding like I did an album last year. It's on Mailboat Records, Jimmy Buffett's label. And the title song is One More Time with Feeling. Let's try one more time with feeling. So that's a song I wrote with Glenn. There's songs I wrote with Glenn that we didn't ever record, and so nobody's heard them, and so I'm doing them. I mean, you know, it's not like having Glenn do them, but even so, there's a song called Peace of Mind, and he actually did a demo of it with him singing it and stuff too. So there's songs still, and I feel the world has to hear those too.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, I think over time, And he did make that Eagles movie.
To get better as songwriters and as performers.
I think they were very ambitious, particularly Glenn.
When I saw the movie, I thought, well, I know everything he does is great, but it didn't occur to me that that would be a great, great movie. And I think because he picked the director and the guy said, well, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Glenn said, no, don't. Just tell it like it is. You know, and so that's a tribute to him in a way. And I'm sure as time goes on, people will recognize and remember.
Thank you so much for watching. To get more of this interview and many others, click on our Patreon link. Leave us a comment about Glenn Frey and Jack Tempchin, great writer, and this wondrous song. What are your memories behind it? To get Glenn and Jack's music, you can hit our Amazon links below. If this content resonates with you, please join our community by subscribing below. Help us keep the music alive. Until the next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.